Charles, I know there's a bit of a gap to Lando, but a great lap at the end there for P2. You must be pretty happy with that.
Happy with how it went anyway.
That must feel pretty good. I mean, the fans were incredible today, and then you put on a lap like that for them. How happy are you right now?
I'm so happy to be up there with up there in the top three. I mean, it's been all years taking me to get here, so it's been a serious mountain to climb. But finally gelling with everything around me, and I think myself and my engineers, we're really starting to extract the performance from the car. So I'm really happy. Honestly, it's been a tough year, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to get here, but it's okay. What matters is the journey, and I've grown a lot through it.
What about tomorrow then? What can you hope from the race tomorrow? There are so many elements in terms of that run to turn one, in terms of the race pace, in terms of the battles that are going on around you. What would be good tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first it's great to have two Ferrari drivers. It's pretty cool. I'm grateful to be there. Charles put in a good lap. It's been quick all weekend, and he's always quick in qualifying. I think for a moment I was like P2, and I think that'd be nice for that, but the inside is actually not that nice. It's quite dirty on the inside, so I'm quite grateful to be third, and I hope that I can capitalize on that. See, Charles has a new tire. I don't have a new tire tomorrow. Same with Lando, but nonetheless, P3 I think is not a bad position to start here because you can tow, and so I'll be quite aggressive. I want to move forward somehow tomorrow.
That'd be pretty special to be your first podium for Ferrari, wouldn't it?
It'd be amazing. It'd be amazing.
What if I told you that the most strategic position in the 2025 Mexican GP was not the pole, and that Hamilton, after months of criticism, could have found the formula to be reborn with Ferrari? Stay, because what he said after the classification could be the beginning of an epic story, or one more illusion. Lewis Hamilton arrived at Ferrari carrying one of the heaviest legacies in the history of modern Formula One. 7-time world champion. The driver with the most pole positions, the most victories, and the most podiums in the history of the sport. But also, since his signing for the Scuderia in 2025, a symbol of a paradox. The greatest, fighting from the bottom. The Mexico circuit, located more than 2,240 meters above sea level, reduces air density by almost 25%. This completely alters the aerodynamic and thermal behavior of the cars. Engines generate less power, brakes suffer more, and cooling systems operate at their limits. But at the same time, less dense air also reduces drag. That is, cars cut through the wind more easily and reach much higher top speeds. The slipstream under these conditions is amplified. Hamilton knows this better than anyone. His reference to the perfect place was not coincidental. In recent years, several drivers who started from the second row in Mexico ended up leading the race into the first corner, because the aerodynamics of the leading car are exposed. It has no defense, and whoever starts third can take advantage of that turbulence to gain crucial meters. But Hamilton did not stop at theory. In his subsequent speech, he hinted that Ferrari had done its homework. He said, "Our process is better this weekend," implying that it's not just the grid position that motivates him, but also the way he got there. Ferrari did not develop new parts for this Grand Prix, but it did reinvent its way of working. Instead of adding downforce, they optimized the car with internal processes, precise simulation sessions, and fine-tuned communication between drivers and engineers. Hamilton, with decades of experience under his belt, noticed that change, and he validated it with results. That type of reading is only available to pilots with tactical vision. From champions who understand that in Formula One, the battle begins long before the traffic light goes out. Hamilton is looking beyond Saturday. He's visualizing turn one, the braking, the gap between Norris and Leclerc, the opening of DRS, the choice of trackside. All this while calmly declaring that P3 is perfect. But behind that serenity, there is a predator that smells blood. Lewis Hamilton summed it up with a phrase that went almost unnoticed by many. "We haven't necessarily moved the car forward in development, but we have extracted more from it." What seems like a technical admission is actually a tactical statement. Ferrari has learned to get the most out of the SF25 without needing to modify it. They have evolved not the car but the system behind the car. The key is in the operational approach. Ferrari has dedicated the last few race weekends to refining its internal processes. Improved communication between the driver and engineers, more precise simulations, and a deeper understanding of the car's behavior in specific conditions. All of this has allowed the team to arrive in Mexico with a more solid base configuration and with a much greater capacity to adapt to the complexities of the circuit. And Mexico, due to its altitude and thermal demands, tests not only the driver but every component of the car. There, Ferrari decided to prioritize reliability over pure aerodynamic performance. This resulted in a subtle but vital change. The SF25 was equipped with more aggressive cooling systems. The grills on the side pods were enlarged, more vents were opened in the engine cover, and the rear brake ducts were redesigned to maximize airflow. At first glance, this seems to compromise efficiency. But in these conditions, keeping the temperature under control can be more decisive than reducing drag. The impressive thing is not only that these modifications worked, but that correct decisions were made without previous data to guarantee it. In the past, Ferrari would have hesitated. I would have reacted late. But this time, the team acted with determination, anticipating the thermal challenges with a surgical execution. And Hamilton, who had been calling for a more predictable car since the first Grand Prix, felt it immediately. In fact, after openly complaining about the lack of balance in Friday practice, describing the car as too slippery, and with a very open balance, the SF25 was converted overnight. The next day it wasn't just competitive, it was fast, stable, predictable. That type of technical correction in such a short time is not the product of luck. It is the result of a team that begins to act as a block, that he no longer improvises. What anticipates? This new Ferrari is not yet the best car on the grid, but for the first time in a long time he seems to have a method that works. And if process efficiency continues to climb, that difference that still exists compared to McLaren or Red Bull may disappear sooner than expected. In silence, without fuss, Ferrari is learning to win. And that, in the long term, can be more dangerous for its rivals than any specific aerodynamic improvement. Qualifying for the Mexican Grand Prix was not just a matter of grid positions. It was the prologue to a war. Because what is coming is not just another race. It is a battle with direct implications on the championship, in the narrative of the season, and in the future of its protagonists. Hamilton doesn't start third by chance. Start from the most strategic position on the most unpredictable circuit of the season. In front, Charles Leclerc. At his side, Lando Norris. 3 different driving styles. 3 opposing team philosophies. And all of them with a single goal, to reach turn 1 first. But what makes this scenario even more explosive is the context that surrounds it. Ferrari arrives in Mexico after having been humiliated in Australia and overshadowed by McLaren in China and Japan. Red Bull, after the abrupt dismissal of Liam Lawson and an internal crisis that puts its immediate future in doubt. Mercedes, for its part, continues to navigate between promises and doubts, without a fully competitive car, depending on the talent of George Russell and the rapid evolution of Kimi Antonelli. McLaren, on the other hand, is the rival to beat. With an extremely efficient, balanced and reliable car, they have led in points, race pace and consistency since the season began. Lando Norris leads the Drivers' Championship with authority, and Oscar Piastri has proven to be one of the most consistent talents of the moment. Your MCL39 is not just fast, it is strategic. And that makes McLaren the measuring stick for the entire grid. So what's at stake in this race? More than it seems. For Hamilton, it is the opportunity to break a historic streak without podiums and show that he can still make a difference on a grid dominated by a new generation of drivers. If he manages to translate that third place into a podium or even a victory, a new chapter will open in his career with Ferrari. One in which he would stop being a media signing and become a real contender. For Ferrari, it would be proof that its change in methodology not only improves internal statistics, but also translates into concrete results. It would validate your approach based on processes, strategy, and progressive evolution. And it would mark a significant psychological blow to teams like Mercedes and Red Bull, which have not yet found their way in 2025. What happens in the first seconds after the light goes out can decide the fate of not only this race, but the momentum of the entire championship. Because in this very close Formula One, a victory changes narratives, change strategies, change future careers. Hamilton's words after qualifying were not improvised. They were not empty. They were measures, loaded with a security that had not been seen in all of 2025. But the most important thing is that they were not an end in themselves, but a possible beginning. And that is what now remains to be answered. Were they a real warning of what is to come? Or simply a passing illusion in the middle of the desert? Because although third place on the grid is a relevant achievement, the true judgment will come in the race. This is where the narratives constructed by the press are separated from those that resist with results. What happens in Mexico could validate not only the performance of the SF25, but also Hamilton's ability to once again be decisive at the highest level. But there is also the risk that everything collapses in the first few turns. A bad start, a failed strategy, a loss of rhythm, and the mirage fades as quickly as it appeared. Ferrari has experienced this before. Promising starts followed by costly mistakes. Illusions built on paper which did not resist the pressure of Sunday. And that is precisely why this moment is so delicate. Because if the result is good, the narrative changes. The team regains confidence. The press becomes an ally. Rivals begin to look with respect. But if it fails, the shadow of the past will once again cover all the technical progress that they have slowly been building. And if Hamilton manages to capitalize on this moment, if he turns this qualification into a tangible result, then we won't just be talking about a great performance in Mexico. We will be witnessing the competitive rebirth of a legend. We will be watching how the most successful driver in history regains his place among the contenders. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.